Well, hello, world.
Hello.
Happy Thursday. And I forgot that I did something that requires me to do something else, and I can't find the something else that I needed to do. But in the meantime, between time, we are just going um to jump in. It is a great day to have a good day, great day. And so we're excited to be with you on this afternoon. I know I say this all the time, so it's okay. But this is going to be a juicy one,
Yes.
like juicy, 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 juicy. I mean, like jaw dropping juicy, right?
Ooh, I love the way you're setting it up.
And so, we are super excited to be on with you today. I just need to make this live for the people.
Okay. Oh,
And
so we're live.
oh yeah, we're live.
Okay.
We are live. In fact, if you go to your page, you might be able to share it out. You
Okay.
may be able to see it and share it out so then people can join the conversation. We're having an extended lunch conversation
There
today.
you go. There you go. I love that.
We're going to talk about the talk now. Okay, yes. Okay, cool. All right, I just wanted to make sure we were on. And so, turn that down. That's all right. We're getting adjusted. We'll be all right. All right. Let's rock and roll. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. So, good afternoon, everyone. Again, it's just an honor to be here with you all today. We want to bring our conversations that we've been having for some time now offline to the world. We believe that it is an in season conversation to have, and we wanted to be a blessing to the masses. And we wanted to be able to support you. While the title is Wealth Worthy Women, is for men and women.
So
And
welcome with these people.
it's so befitting, given where May is Mother's Day. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. And our guest today and I share this common bond when it comes to the health and wealth of the person, right? And because nothing just happens, you need to be able to have resources and tools to get from point A to point B. Um, we're your compass today.
Yeah.
And if you have an ear to hear, then you'll be able to walk away today, not just empowered, but equipped to execute on some things, right? And to take hold of life from a different position. And so we're super, super, super excited. And I'm elated to have Dr. Helen here. She has become one of my starting five. She's not even coming off the bench. She is like one of my starting fives. I just love her. I love her spirit. I love her gift in the earth and what she brings every single time she has an opportunity to be before anyone. And so she'll tell you a little bit about her. So, with that, without further to do, Dr. Helen, welcome to Terry Talks.
Wow. Well, Terry, thank you so much. It's such a privilege. Like I'm so glad that we are finally doing this, right? Um, you are one of those women that I mean, Chanel used to talk about you all the time. So I've known you for a very long time. And one of the things she always said, like, she's an entrepreneur. Like, Terry is an entrepreneur. And so I am so glad that I'm in your world and I'm so glad that I'm speaking to your audience. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for having me, Dr. Helen. Listen, and I hope we're displaying, because this is another thing that I've been saying in this season, is that it's so important to really appreciate collaboration
Yes.
over competition, right? And we're displaying that spirit of, we can prop up one another, and it takes absolutely nothing away from who we are as individuals. And so, thank you for being that today. So, let's talk about it, right? It's the Terry Talks podcast. Let's talk. So, let's
Mhm.
talk
All right.
about, the thing that is just relevant, which is, so everyone who knows me know I am in real estate investing, and our approach to helping you make the millions and the billions and create legacy and generational wealth is that we do it in a holistic way. And so we're on this theme right now that wellness leads to wealth. Oftentimes people just want to do a thing, but they're not being a thing, right? And part of the reason why we can't be is because we have so many blockages internally, right? Our soul is comprised of our minds, our chooser, our thinker, our will, our emotions, and so there are a lot of blockages there. I'm not the resident expert there. That's why we have one on today. But there is something to be said for if you find yourself like, why I just can't, I'm making money, but I can't keep it. Or why can't, I know God created me for more. And I know that, having money gives me options to have more, but why can't I get there? If you are a believer and you're like, and you're quoting the scripture, I'm the
Yes.
lender, not the bar, I'm the head and not the tail, but you're not exhibiting that, or if you're the person that's like, I don't even know where to begin. And every time you go to begin, something happens. So what you say is, something is always getting in the way, or I just can't seem to get ahead. We're going to venture to say, and the expert in the room can speak to this better, that that's an internal conflict. Is something that's happening on the inside. There's a lack of health on the inside that is, causing what you desire to be incongruent with what you desire, right? And
Yes.
so we believe that, particularly living in a trauma filled world, that it's important that we not only bring awareness to what I just described, but also give you the resources and tools to overcome it. We ain't playing with it. We want to demolish it and kill it so that we can live the abundant life that I believe God called us to have.
Yes.
Right. He said, I wish above all that we prosper and be in good health, even as our souls prosper. Well, if our soul isn't prospering, right, then we can tie it back to some things that are hindering that from happening.
Yes.
And I remember when I got the revelation in this space, it opened up so much for me. I'm not going to get into portals and all of those sorts of things, but it definitely opened up so much for me that it increased the way I was able to make money. It increased my giving. It increased how charitable I was, because it now came from a different place, a healed place and a healing place.
Yes.
So I transitioned from doing to get a thing to becoming, and becoming every single day of my life. And as a result of that, it allowed those relationships and those transactions just to hit, as they say, it was hitting different. So, Dr.
Yeah.
Helen,
I love
tell
that.
us a little bit about your story, and what is the wealth worthy woman? Bam,
Okay.
bam.
By the end of this, you will get it. Wealth worthy woman. So, well, a little bit about myself and how I started. I was a therapist. I was a psychotherapist for over 10 years, like about 14 years. And so the work that I do comes from that background of being a therapist, right? So earlier you were talking about how you had to become the woman that could generate wealth. Well, so here's the thing, right? when we come into this world, we come into this world as sponges, right? And we just download everything in our environment, everything in our family, including the money stories. What's interesting about my money story is like, so I grew up in Uganda, and if you're not familiar with Uganda, it's in Africa, and it's a very, very poor country, right? The annual income for a typical person is about $1,500 a year. That's kind of how poor it is. And so, but I grew up in the family where we were abundant. We might not have been financially abundant um, by American standards, but we were pretty much abundant. And so, growing up, I heard very positive messages from my father. My father is a pastor, so I was a pastor's kid. And a lot of our messages about money came from the Bible. So it was very, very positive. However, the community I lived in was incredibly poor. So on the one hand, you're hearing all these positive stories about money, but yet the environment you're living in has all these negative stories about money, and you could actually see the poverty. And so there was a little bit of you talked earlier about the internal conflict. There was a little bit of an internal conflict for me, right? On the one
Mm.
hand, my dad is preaching prosperity and abundance. On the other hand, people around us are really, really poor. So that created an internal conflict inside of me. And I'm not the only one, right? We all have stories that sometimes conflict. And then they become the foundation from which we act off of that confused stories. So
We act off those confused stories. Okay. Now, you coming out the gate swinging, right?
I thought that's what you wanted.
Bring it. Like, we act on, so come on, unpack that for us, because I think what happens, especially after we get older, I don't think that, and we find, I must talk for myself. I was showing up in places, and I couldn't understand why I was showing up the way that I was showing up, right? Um, while it may have, while it may not have made, while it may have been pleasing externally to the folks, it wasn't pleasing to me. I felt like, if I said something, maybe I could have did that a little bit better. Or if I took on a certain, you know, personality in those interactions, when I left, I'm like, I felt like Paul, the good I want to do, I don't do, the evil is always present. And so there was this questioning of what's wrong with me, right?
Yeah,
Why am I, I know how I wanted to show up, but I ain't, that ain't come out, right?
yeah,
And so somebody may be feeling that today, and as it relates, we'll get into a little bit further, but we want to talk a little bit. Sit
yeah, yeah.
down and let's
Yeah.
talk about each
Let's
other.
have a cup of tea and talk about
Just
it.
let's just talk about it. So unpack that comment a little bit for us.
I'll unpack it with my own story, right? Because
Okay.
I love telling stories. So I told you I had those two conflicting stories, and how that pictured is, on the one hand, like I have certifications up to wazoo, right? But yet the internal me always felt like she wasn't good enough. And you're like, Helen, that doesn't add up, right? It doesn't add up. And so, because I had those conflicting stories, I only allowed myself to have just a bit, like just a bit. So I'll give you a great example. So I told you how in Uganda the annual income is 1,500, not 50, 1,500. The cap is 2,800. Because the story I told myself was I'm not enough, and I wanted to be loyal. So there's an aspect of us that wants to be loyal to the old story. I was being loyal by only allowing myself to have as much as a typical person in Uganda would have, and on the high end, right? And it wasn't until I saw that incongruency, because it is an incongruency. I saw that incongruency within myself, and I was like, come on, Helen, you are a brilliant woman, and you do deserve to have more. And so, like, I think it was Jesus, like, you can't pour new wine in old wineskins.
So
I had
wise.
a lot of old
That's right.
wineskins, but I had to be aware of it first
That's right.
and then get rid of it. I had to be aware of it. Go ahead. You
No,
look
no,
like you're jumping to talk.
no, 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 no. I like that because that done led somewhere else. But is what we would say. Sometimes people shrink or they're playing small, or to your point, is like some people are fearful of success because and I'm going to talk about myself. Like I came from the hood, and I didn't want the the chatter to be she thinks she's better than us,
She
right?
old dad.
Yeah, and so some things I didn't reveal for years. Even to this day, people don't know the magnitude of what the Lord has allowed me to be blessed with. And part of that is because I'm a very personal person, but part of it too was, the story that I told myself, right? About what others could possibly think. And so that's a very real thing that
Yeah,
we have women and men alike who won't be forthcoming with a lot of things or going after certain things because of what they fear the potential backlash could be,
yeah,
consciously or unconsciously. It's there, it's a real thing.
yeah,
So you do this work, right?
yeah.
And you do this work to help women, and well, particularly women, um, get from out of the dug hill with this, right? That why this work for you? I know you have your personal stories, but it's one thing to get yourself healed, but then to go back and try to get 25,000 other people to work out of this space as well. So why?
Why is this important to me?
Why do you do it?
We can't change the world without money. That's for real, right? And so, if you want to make the kind of impact that we are all called to make, you need resources. We really need resources. I mean, like I said, I'm originally from Uganda. And if I want to make changes in Africa, we need money.
That's right.
And so, why do I do this? Because it is our divine right to have prosperity. It is our divine right. And so, what I'm very passionate about is I want to be able to empower women to have an empowered relationship with money. Because a lot of us have a very disempowered relationship with money. So that's why I do it.
Okay, so give us like one to three examples um, of someone having a bad money story unknowingly, right? Because again, I do think that depending on where you are, even in Christendom, I think that we can deceive ourselves. We
Yeah,
live in deception. We think we're somewhere where we really aren't, or
yeah,
we're too busy helping other people that it doesn't cause us to see our own struggles, or if we see them we're not given the time and attention we need to address it because we over there being a busybody, we being a Martha, right? Instead of just sitting. So give us, give the folks out there one or three signals, or I was going to say symptoms. Like,
yeah. Let's use symptoms since that's my background, right? So what does it look like when you have a disempowered money story? You undervalue yourself. I mean, some of the people that I do know and I have worked with are incredibly gifted coaches and healers, but struggle to charge the value of the transformation that they offer. So when you're undervaluing yourself, like you're trying to be humble, That's a disempowered relationship with money. Um, Imposter syndrome, like thinking that you're not good enough and therefore shrinking and dimming your light. That's a disempowered relationship with money. Burnout, working until you're burning out, you're hustling for your worthiness. That's the disempowered money story. So I've given you three. Another one that would probably fit in your world is the fear of taking risks. If you're too afraid to take risks, that's a disempowered relationship with money.
Yeah, and so let's just plug this here,
Okay.
for those who feel like, we're gonna pitch a tent just for a few minutes, especially again in Christendom, which I love. I'm a contributor to it, but there are a lot of false narratives that I have heard and embraced over time. And as a result of that, I think that's an example of how you are responding to something that you've learned, right? And learned years ago or heard, right? And one of the things I hear people say, people don't, really want to manage their finances, although that's spiritual and it's a principle. If you read your word, man, you ain't supposed to be in debt. You are to owe no man but to love him. And that scripture that you quote when the preacher come about being the head and not to tell, the lender and not the borrower. Well, if you ain't got no money, who you lending to, right? Like
Exactly.
that's what I want to know, right?
Yeah.
But it's you hear this, this thing of money is the root of all evil. No, that's not what it says. It says the love of money is the root of all evil, right?
Yeah. When you
If
make
you
money your God.
you will make it your God, you are enslaved to this. But let me tell you something. You go to a job that you don't really like, you're being mistreated. Oftentimes they are working you hand over foot. You start at 9, or you're supposed to start at 9, they calling you at 7:30, supposed to end at 6, you're staying to 9, right? And you do it not because you want to be of service, but because you know that check is tied to it and that money is tied to it.
Yeah.
So, quite honestly, there's an enslavement there because you're working to get money because you know you need it,
Yeah.
right? So, here are some of these things that, we have put out there or we have embraced knowingly and unknowingly. And we don't even realize that we are we're enslaved to it, right?
Yeah.
Or we have been enslaved to it.
Yeah.
But there's a better way. Do you want to weigh in on that before we
Well, no,
go?
I wanted to add, like, so as a kid, being a pastor's kid, you gotta memorize verses, and then you gotta say it in front of the church. So I remember I was about maybe 11, and there's this verse in Ecclesiastes, I think it's 5, that talks about, and there's context, right? There's usually context to scripture, but when you're young, we take scripture out of context. And it was like, when you're wealthy, if you have a lot of money, you're going to have a lot of mouths to feed and you're not going to sleep well. Something to that effect. Well, the 11-year-old version of me was like, well, money's bad. If I have money, I'm going to have a lot of problems and I might not sleep well. But we take things out of context all the time, right? Abraham was a millionaire. There were a lot of millionaires in the Bible, right? Jesus was sponsored by a lot of wealthy people, right? So it's a misconception. That's my
It is.
perspective.
That is a great perspective. Is definitely, I'm thank you for sharing that. And we can go on about, I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna hit it. I'm gonna hit it and quit it.
Yeah,
Everybody wants to be a Proverbs 31 woman, right? That woman had money. She had it stored up. She was going to buy land. She was going to buy without reservation, right? There was no. She wasn't robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? That is not the flex. She wasn't interested in just looking good. instead of being good. Not just her, but her family. So guess what? Her husband could stand in the gates and flex, right?
Yeah.
And if you buying land that you ain't getting pennies, you are bringing in millions of dollars,
Yeah.
tens of
Because it ain't
thousands
cheap.
of dollars, right? And so, I'm grateful that we're having this conversation because we should normalize it. We should be able to normalize it, and particularly in the Black community, and our only, you know, celebrities, actors, athletes are not our only examples, right? God has no respect of person. um and it is his will. When we live a certain way, when we're able to be, live, and thrive, instead of being in a space of stress, strain, struggle, and survival, he gets the glory. I was reading in my text today, and it was talking about how the nations get to look at the wonders of God. When you show up, when you and I show up, and we show up in a way of wonder, right? Um, with options, right? With money that allows us to have options, other people get to look at that and say there must be a God. And then guess what? They're not drawn to us. They shouldn't be. He gets the glory and he gets the honor out of that, right?
Yeah,
And so
like,
this thing, it goes back to what you were saying. These internal conflicts causes us to have these limiting beliefs, causing us to shrink, and then we shrink everywhere because oftentimes how you do one thing is literally how you typically do everything. So
well, I just wanted to throw one thing in based on what you said. My dad would always say, "You are an ambassador of the divine. You've got to represent. No walking around in raggedy clothes. You're representing the divine. Look the part." So I agree with you.
you representing the part. I love that. I love that. I love that. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, um, I think we talked about this. We've been talking about it throughout, but in a more intentional way and with the remedy. What gets in the way? We know that it's limiting beliefs. We know that it's environmental. We know all of the things, right? But what is the remedy for it practically,
All
right?
right.
How can we address these things?
Yes. So the stories that we inherit, they don't live in our heads. They live in our bodies. They live in our nervous system, right? Because I don't know if you've ever had this experience where something very benign just triggers you. It brings up some stuff. Well, that happens because your stories about money, your stories about pretty much anything, they live in the nervous system. And so, can I share how I work with people then? Do it. Okay. So, be- because our money stories don't just live in the conscious mind, it lives in the unconscious mind. I use a tool called EFT tapping. And EFT tapping allows you to reach that subconscious level, right? Reach the unconscious part of your brain, which is like the survival brain, the part of your brain that says when you're about to do something, oh, this is dangerous, please shrink. The part of you that's telling you you're not enough. That's all in your survival brain. So I use EFT tapping to just tell that part of your brain that you're okay, you're safe. Because think about it, when you're stressing out about money, you're gonna feel it physiologically, and how that's gonna picture is that it's gonna be fear. When you're in fear, you're not gonna see all the opportunities that are available to you. And so EFT tapping just allows your body to calm down. And when your body's calm, your mind gets a little bit clearer. And you can see, oh, yeah, I have that option. I have that option. I have that option, which you can't see when you're in so much fear, when you're so stressed out about money.
Absolutely. And even if you're not identifying it with money, right? You know, because a lot of this stuff shows up directly and indirectly. you're speaking to something that is a general practice that should be considered, not just around money, right? I think one of the issues is, which is one of the reasons why I retired, the Lord allowed me to retire my nine until, is because when you stay busy, right? You're in this autopilot and don't even realize, that you could be in, because you mentioned fear, and oftentimes it's not looked at as there is a level of fear. But you are, you enter into this fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, right? And if you find yourself on the go, that is can be an unhealthy response
Oh, it
to.
is, not can be. It
Okay.
is.
I'm gonna let, I ain't nobody doctor, but she got the certificate so she can say it, right? And I know it is because I took, the Lord allowed me to take time. I had to stop myself, get into awareness of these things so that I can address some things. God can't reveal a thing. He can't heal a thing if you don't reveal the thing, right?
Right
So
there.
we have to position ourselves to reveal these things so that we can be healed in these areas. And so I see it all the time, and especially as a Black woman, we got that cape we need to retire because it's oftentimes keeping us from being able to be in awareness, and you're just kind of, you're surviving, you're keeping up, and you're trying to stay ahead and address this and address that. I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna quit it. One of the things that I was in, started ministry in my early 20s, and I kind of got fast tracked in the church, and there was something that was always bothering me. I'm in church 3 times on Sunday.
Mm.
And if someone asks me, like, okay, well, how was church? It was good. That's all I could
Yeah.
say, right? It was good. And I didn't even, and so because I couldn't sit with anything. I was hearing 3 different sermons, sometimes the same sermon 3 times, but I still couldn't process really anything where it could become ingrained in my spirit and my heart, because I'm even responding to that in a flightish type of way, right? And so my nervous system, I learned later, right, was overactive. And so from that place, I can't be resourceful. I can't have a thoughtful mind. The Bible says the mind of the righteous man is blessed. Well, if you got a busy mind, you know, chances are your nervous system is overactive. And so that tapping is one of them. There are supplements that I use today. My coach helped me with passion flower and ashwagandha. I never say it right, but that,
Mhm. Yeah,
right?
I know
So
what you're talking about.
there are things available to you to calm your nervous system so that you can move from a different place of peace and productivity. Busy don't mean productive, right?
No, you're really right, right? Because we live in a culture that really glorifies productivity, right? If you're busy, then you're a valuable member of community. But our nervous systems, it has two branches. There's the stress response, and then there's the rest and digest. I mean, the divine was very wise in putting both systems in our bodies, but a lot of us don't use it. We just on the go, go, go. And it makes me wonder, what are we running away from?
Think you said it earlier. Well, so I think, so this is what I think, and I want you to weigh in on this. I think we oftentimes are running from what was or what we experienced. So you become a parent and it's like, I want to do better than what my parents did. Or, I grew up poor. We had, I mean, my family were drug dealers and gangbangers and all of that. But for the most part, we were really poor. I was poor, right? I was poor, 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 right? And so one of the things that especially when I got saved and I'm in this word and I'm like, the poor don't have to be poor no more. I like went after that, and it became something that became almost an assignment for me. Now I now know why God did that so early in my salvation, was because years later I would be the one to usher people from lack into abundance, right? And so I get it, but during the time I ain't have the understanding of all of this, and so but I was running from where I came from. You know, there was relationships that I saw that were not great relationships, and I decided I didn't want that. I didn't know how to coexist around it, so I was took myself out of the equation so that I wouldn't become that, right? You
Yeah.
know, now thank God, because I got a better understanding. The Lord has given me some downloads and people, resources, and professionals to tap into. I now can be surrounded around those folks and they don't taint me because that's what I was running from. I didn't
Mm.
want that. I didn't
Yeah.
want that life. I didn't want no parts of that, you know, and so I think that's one of those are some of the things people are running from,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially since there's nothing new under the sun. I know I can't be the only person.
No, I really hear you, and you really you hit the nail on the top. We are running from ourselves. We are running from our pains. We're running from our emotions. A lot of us weren't taught how to process our emotions, and so we keep busy so as not to feel whatever we're feeling. And so, like in the work that I do, we do have to start by facing the pain, make it conscious, process it, move it out of the body. And there was something that you said, like you heard this new awareness, and you're like, I have permission to be rich. Well, let me go for it. And it sounds like you experienced, like the next thing that I do is like it's like that identity transformation. You have to become that person. Back to the old wine, new wine sake. You need new wine skin. You need to embody this new identity so that then you can live as this wealthy person. And it sounds like you did that. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I want to invite us to that. If you are in a space that you don't want to be in, but you know there is more, right? Or you're desiring more, or you're seeing more, so you know it exists, and you know. Back to the scripture that you quoted, which you cannot put new wine in old wineskin. And so you have to, like, and even every level, new level that the Lord kind of gives me insight that I'm going to have to go to, we work out a plan of what who I need to be in order to not squander that next level,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or, and it could be, you know, in this instance, you know, we're talking about finances and money and things like that, but it could be relationships, it could be whatever. You know, you have to, there's a preparation point. Or, you know, how many of us have, you know, gotten into new spaces, and because we had not become what the space needed us to be, it didn't work out. You know, we missed the opportunity. And we're saying to you today, okay, but now you know better, right? Or now you know, you have some idea of what the challenge was
Yeah.
from you, or what caused you to miss that opportunity. And so that's a great segue into, tell us, how do we become her or it, right? So we know we're going to, you started mentioning about identity and calming down your nervous system. I don't know if you have a 4-point plan, or, you know, because you're a coach. What, tell
Well, yeah, we all need like our 4 steps, right? So in the work that I do, it's around so you become conscious of what your old story is. And the old story is really not the truth of who you really are, right? So when you connect, and so for those who are Christian, when you connect the part of you that is the divine part of you, that is the truth of who you are. Allowing that part of you to speak to who you really are, right? And so in my example of the story of I'm not good enough. Well, the truth of who I really am is like Psalms 139. I am wonderfully and fearfully made, right? That is the truth of who I am. And so once you create a new story about who you are, you have to live it. You have to embody it. Just like the stories, the negative stories that you had, well, you programmed yourself that way. Now you have to program yourself as I am worthy, I am deserving, and take action from this part of me that I am worthy, I am deserving.
That's good. And I'm going to say this. You made a decision to experience change, but another part of that decision needs to be make a change in circle, right? In community.
Yes.
Because what I found is that when I, it's just the same way when the Lord saved me, it was like I wanted to tell everybody. I was super excited. And anything new happens with me, I usually start with my inner circle and I'm like ready to share. And I had blank stares at times, right?
They're like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
Or, if it wasn't the blank stares, it was like dead silence, right? And so, it reminded me that two can't walk together unless they be agreed. Now, I didn't leave those folks. I love them. But now this new person needed a that community that could support and affirm that. And so, we've created a community over here. And I want you to share a little bit about May 13th in a minute. The two opportunities that they have that just can support them in this work. It's like, okay, you want to be a basketball player, you're not going to spend time with the golfers, more time with the golfers. You need to be around people. And I decided, given the political landscape of the current time, the economic landscape, I'm only in communities now that can celebrate me, not tolerate me. I'm only in communities now that can affirm where I believe, the path that I believe God has me on, and can support me along that path, because either they can appreciate the path, or they're in the thralls of it themselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, speak to that a little bit and tell the folks about, May 13th and your free event and our free roundtable, and just speak to that for us, please.
Well, so you bring up a good point. Like one of my mentors says, we cannot become ourselves by ourselves. Our identity is held by the relationships we're in. So, like when you go to a high school reunion, you find yourself acting like a high schooler because the people that you grew up with, they still see you in a particular way. And so, if you're wanting to be a wealth worthy woman, if you're wanting to be healthy, if you're wanting to cultivate a good relationship, you have to be with people that see the you that you're becoming, right? That you that you're becoming. They need to hold the mirror for your potential. So, yeah. So I just wanted to affirm what you were saying. We cannot become ourselves by ourselves. We need people to mirror our brilliance, to mirror, like, I see your potential. Like, you've got potential, right? So we need that. And to that, so I'm doing this free event on the 13th. And what we're going to be doing is really, it's an opportunity for you to really see. Because when I talk about this stuff, sometimes they're like, yeah, Helen, you're just talking stuff. But I guide you through the process to really see how your nervous system, right? And we want to depersonalize it. We don't want you to feel shame or anything. I want you to know it's your nervous system. Your nervous system is designed to keep you safe. It's not designed to get you go out there and make money. No, not that part of you. And so at 1 o'clock, I have this free masterclass where we go through that process to really see how your nervous system is holding you back. And then I'll share opportunities of what your next steps are. And then with your event at 5 o'clock, it's still another opportunity to. I think I'm talking about self care and stress, right, Terry? Because I don't want to be. If somebody else is talking about that, I can't hear you.
Listen, I get so excited. I'm like, yes, we're going to talk about the stress and the self care. And I just want to say self care is not just getting your nails done
No.
or getting your feet done. Today, well, now I ain't going to go off of that. I'll come back to that. But yes, you can talk about that. And yes, you can transition how we want to transition today.
Right, because here's the thing: as women and men, right, we love to take care of other people, and often we forget about ourselves. And my sense is include yourself in the circle of care and be an empowered person as you care for others, not just taking care of other people. You got to fill your cup first. So that's what we're going to be doing at 5 p.m. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to be around other people who hold a bigger possibility for who you can become. That's the best way to say it.
Yeah, and I just want to put a plug here, especially as we're teeing ourselves up. It's Mother's Day, you're going to get gifts and things like that. When this was something that became an eye opener for me, and it has been a tremendous help in my life. Sometimes I would just be a little agitated, just a little bit um, more than I probably would have otherwise been. Um, and I went through, I'm in this community, Liberated Soul, and I'll share some information about that. But, and I started learning all of these things. I really, and one of the things that I learned is that we should be paying attention to our bodies, right? There's a book, the Body Keeps Score, right? And I don't know if you want to hit that at all, but it's keeping score when something happens and you get a reflex or you like this, right? Your body actually kind of contracts there, and then it's like that becomes tight, and muscles, all of the things, right? And so oftentimes, we feel these aches and these pains, and we've just learned to manage them, not get rid of them, but manage them. And oftentimes we're just managing them because we don't have time to address them. But what has been a game changer for me is addressing it. And so I'm back to in this workout regimen, and my ankles and knees and all of the things have been talking to me. Right. So I could on the surface just say, that's that's
I'm getting
that's
old.
that's par for the course. Um, that's par for the course, and I'm just going to take something to address the joints. Or, could there be something else lodged in our legs and our feet and all of the things that keeps us tight, and causes us not to be as resourceful and thoughtful and just being able to have healthy interactions and healthy relations. Just today, I was like, my ankles and my feet needed some care. So I went and got wraps, got some sea salt, sat down with my spa person. And it was beyond just getting a pedicure, is where I'm going. Self-care, it goes beyond just, dealing with the surface level cosmetic part of us. And we've been so accustomed to doing that we miss the opportunity to be able to, in our own bodies, want to live with our own bodies in harmony. Amen. Amen.
Preach it, sister. Preach it. I love what you're saying, right? Louise Hayes has this book called Heal Your Body. So she she talks about how certain body parts store certain emotions. So, for instance, like the emotion of anger, for the most part, it's stored in your lungs. So different parts of your body, and there's this really incredible tapping process that I do in the tapping solution. I don't know if you know of the tapping solution. It's an app, yeah. Um, and it's like that part of your body. So your ankle, if it had an emotion, what is the emotion? So our emotions, well, where does it go? It goes in our bodies, right? Our biology carries our biography. Everything about your body, like about your life, is stored in your body. And so if you're not listening, it's going to speak louder. It's going to speak louder until it'll be like, okay, you're not listening to me. I'll show you.
That's so good. And here's the thing, we don't have to live with a lot of the illnesses and ailments that we have.
Yeah,
And I love tapping. And just get with a therapist, consult one. But I know when I've gone through it, and being able, having the ability to tap out some things and tap in some new beliefs,
yeah,
and even answering things from a certain place. So what are you talking about, Terry? That sounds like a bunch of mumble jumble. Well, if you something happened in your childhood or even yesterday that caused a level of fear, remember that fear gets lodged into your body, and it causes disease,
yeah,
which is disease, right, in your body. And so there should be a regular regimen of tapping that mess out, right? Getting it out
absolutely.
of your system, so that you can be healthy, wealthy, and wise. That's what my dad used to say back in the day. I
I
think
love
that's so
that.
befitting right there.
I love it. Healthy, wealthy, and wise. I love that. I really do. Sometimes sometimes like stress, it doesn't necessarily have to always be negative, right? So like one of my own self-care regimen is like I tap in the morning and then I tap in the evening, because it doesn't matter how amazing your day is. Sometimes your body will store all kinds of things. And so to me it's like brushing your teeth. It's like brushing your teeth for your whole mind body system. So yeah, good stuff.
That's good. But that's, again, if you don't hear, what we really want to stress is the importance of self-care, right? And the importance of wellness in every area of your life in order to get the prosperity and get the abundance in every area of your life, right? So if your body is not well, it cannot produce at optimum levels,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
If your mind is not well, you can't produce at optimum levels. If your finances is not well, you can't produce. It'll be like you got holes in your pockets, right?
exactly.
And so we want you to be able to really, and encourage and empower you to, tap into this concept of, self-care, and well beyond getting your hair done, your nails done. Self-care, just if there is so much going on, and entrepreneurship, business ownership has its, I don't want to say challenges. It has its life. It has a life, just like life be life, and business be life, and entrepreneurship be life. But one of the perks is, for me, if it gets too much for me, I get to shut it down and say I'll try again tomorrow, right? And what does that look like? So, I've been able to, in the middle of the day, if my mind is too busy, or if it's too much stress, or I feel like, I'm overwhelmed, I'll call my sister, hey, I need you to cancel these meetings for the rest of the day. Or I'll call someone and I'll say, listen, I'm not able to do it, right? Why do we intelligently cause ourselves pain and suffering, right? I'm thinking about a song that says, "Oh, what peace we often forfeit." It's a old spiritual. I
Him.
don't know if it's an old Negro
It's a
spiritual
him,
or not,
like it's a
but
him, yeah.
it's like, "Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we often bear, all because we do not take it to the Lord in prayer, or just shut it down for a minute. Shut yourself down, sit down for a minute, right? Be one with your own thoughts. Like massage, my trainer had me massaging my knee with my finger. And that felt so good to me. Like, it was like, I don't need nobody. I need to be massaging me, right? And it was an act of, for me, a badge of honor for me to care for myself. My knees was not like, and thank God I don't have no issues. So don't count me out. I don't need no surgery or nothing like that. But I was achy. And I'm like, I told her, and this is again the importance of having people in your circle who can hear that and respond,
Yeah.
right? They mind ain't going 50 miles. So I don't even know if she here, but shout out to my trainer. She'll be on the panel on Tuesday. But we stopped and we took my little thumb and we worked my knees. And I was like, come on, Terry, give yourself the care you need, right? So we really want you to be able to put the mask on yourself
Yeah.
as the on the airplane. They say if we go down, put it on yourself and then help other people, right? That's the same message that we want to send. You have to be well. You can't keep giving out of an empty reservoir or empty well, because chances are, you causing casualties in other places. Simply you trying to help. It's a good thing that you want to help, but it might not be a God thing, in that your body and your mind and your spirit cannot give from a place of ease and flow. You're giving from a heavy lift, which now, and I've been there. I'm helping and I'm mad. Like, come on, I don't have no patience, I don't have no grace, right? Because I ain't on the inside.
Like, slow down, Miss Terry, slow down and be with yourself. Ask yourself, what's going on, boo? I'm here. Talk to me. People forget that it's so simple, but you can be there for you. That's where self care starts, right? Like that the desire to be there to support yourself. You can do that for yourself. You were telling us about how you massage yourself. You can do that for yourself. And nobody else is going to do it for you. You got to do it yourself.
Can we take a moment and can we, I'm a big proponent of, I don't just talk about it, I be about it, right? And so, I think we would miss an opportunity to tell you all of these things conceptually and not practically show you what that looks like. Dr. Helen, this is your wheelhouse. This is what you do. Would you like to take I don't know if it's a 60-second thing that you do, to show tapping or even breathing? I gotta tell y'all this for real. And then Dr. Helen, you got it. Um, I didn't even know I wasn't breathing, y'all. Like I wasn't taking breaths. I know it sounds so simple. Now, obviously, I ain't died, so what? But there is something with inhalation and exhalation. Like you should be taking these deep breaths. You should be, it's like I'm skipping breaths, and it's only for the grace of God, so go I. But there, like, I started to notice, like, there was instances where I wasn't even taking time to breathe.
That's how busy you were.
Listen, they used to have this thing, and I don't even know if she remembers, but Darlene Blakely, was an evangelist in the church we were in, and we were in ministry together. And she said, Terry, you're the only person I know could be in West Philly at 2:23 and then be in a meeting at 2:25 in the Northeast. Like, I would literally go from one thing to the next. I mean, and I was serving, right? I was helping everybody else, but I mean, I'm like, and I'm doing this stuff in traffic. I mean, how many times have you been in, driven somewhere and you don't even know how you got there?
Yeah.
That's a you don't even remember what you passed to get there. When I knew it was time for me to call it quits at the police department was when I looked up in 10 years of my life. The first 5 years of it, I was like, in it, I can account for it. But then the last 10 years, I couldn't account for that. I like it was like what went on. Now, of course, I was living, I was doing, but I'm gonna tell you, I was checking off boxes. I was
Mm,
like, I was doing things that I needed to do because it required that in the moment.
yeah.
But I wasn't
Being
having
present.
a pure quality of life.
Yeah, you
So
weren't
no,
present.
I wasn't breathing. Go ahead. I
Yeah.
hope you didn't lose your thought.
No, 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 no. Well, when you brought up the breathing, I was like, well, we can do one of the quickest and easiest tapping round is tapping and breathing, which anybody can do, right? Because a lot of the times we wonder, like, what do I say? But you don't really have to do or say anything. You just tap and breathe. So I'll be glad to guide us in a tapping and breathing process.
Yes. So do me a favor, and then we'll end on this. I'll give you the last word after you do that. And just before you start tapping and breathing, and I did like this because I'm like, man, another tool in the toolbox come through. I didn't know you could get two in one, right?
You're in
So now
one.
instead of me tapping, my tapping is this. I don't,
Yeah.
but instead of me going through that and stealing away, now I can do two in one and then breathing and taking my deep breaths in and holding and all of that. I want you to tell our audience the benefits of it, like why this, like, it's one thing to introduce it, but how can we help them connect it to how it can make life for them better,
Yeah.
right, on a daily basis in the minute, right? So before you start the exercise, if you can just tell them that I'm going to say this, and then after she does takes us through this exercise, I want you to have the final word and we'll wrap. But don't forget, we have a Wellness to Wealth roundtable that is happening on May 13th on YouTube, right? You need to register because there are some resources we want to be free resources that we want to be able to give to you after it's over. Right. So I'm big on not just giving people tools and they don't know how to use them. That's dumb to me. I don't need you don't need another ball that's going to collect dust if I'm not telling you what that ball does. Right. And so we want to make sure the links will be in the chat. Make sure you register. We're going to be talking about an array of things from spirituality to fitness, to finances, right? And we are primarily focused on how to get you healthy in those areas so that you can reap the benefits of the area, right? Again, my lane is finances. So I'm not interested in you just making the money. I want you to make it and keep it. And not just for today, but for tomorrow and for generations to come, because a good man and woman leaves an inheritance to their children's children, right? And so we want you to tap into that. We'll have information about Dr. Helen's free masterclass earlier in that day. So here's an opportunity for you to tap in for you to show up for you, right? And get the pouring into that you need, so that when you pour out, it's not from an empty reservoir and it's not a heavy lift, but you're doing it seamlessly, effortlessly. I'm going to say this, and there's an anointing on it because you're not doing it from obligation. You're doing it authentically because it's who you are. It flows from you because you became it. So prioritize May 13th. I'm going to say, if you're really serious about getting relief in all of these areas in your life and coming up early, coming up higher, take off from work. Take a half a day. You take a half a day to go, to the football game, to the Beyonce concerts. Listen, take a half a day, tap into what she has going on at 12, or I think is at 1. Tap into what we got in at 5. Make it a day where you're going to allow yourself to be poured into, so that you can finally see the results that you know God desires for you to have, and you're craving and longing for yourself. That's May 13th. We're going to put the information in the chat. Don't forget to register. We want to see you there, because we have a saying in my community: friends don't let friends build wealth or get free or get healthy or be prosperous alone. And so, like, share, comment, share this out. Bring other people around. If you looking around at your circle and nobody is talking about this, but this where you want to be, I'm not going to tell you to change your circle, or get rid of your circle. I'm just going to say change it. Come and be a part of another one, so that you can accomplish the goals that you desire to achieve. Amen. Amen. There
Okay, so
you go.
if you're not signing up after that amazing preaching, I don't know what's wrong. That was so beautiful. I can see you're a preacher. You really are. That was incredible. That was incredible. Yeah. It's up to you. It's up to them, right? It's up to you to decide to take advantage of the opportunities because they are there. So thank you for that.
Thank you. We're gonna love our neighbors as ourselves someday. And Tuesday is the day. If you ain't got no other
Tuesday
day,
is the day.
but you got it, Pat. I'm getting ready to call you Pastor Helen. Maybe you promise.
You
Listen,
keep saying that. You keep saying that.
so if you can just explain the benefits of tapping and breathing, and how it can prove as a partner in life with men and women, in their everyday life, and then take us through the exercise and then close us out.
Okay. So EFT tapping has been clinically proven to calm the part of your brain that's always looking for danger. So it calms that part down. And in the calming down, it lowers stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Like you can't be running on cortisol and adrenaline all the time without burning out your adrenals. And so what EFT tapping does is it just calms you down and lets your body know that you are safe. There's no bear, there's no lion chasing you. It's just a deadline. It's just politics. You're not in life threatening danger. So that's what EFT tapping does. And so I'm going to show you what the points are for those who don't know what the points are. And just tapping and breathing is just one of the easiest. You're accessing two powerful tools: the tool of your breath, and then you're tapping on these points, which are called acupressure points, that are connected to the survival part of your brain. Okay, so the points are side of the hand, eyebrow, where your eyebrow starts. Just follow that to the side of the eye, follow that to underneath the eye, and then underneath the nose, underneath the mouth, and then collarbone. You can just, this is just easy. If you've never done it, just tap right here. Underneath the arms, just like 4 inches from your armpit, and then top of the head. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you kind of have like a huge crowd, so you
I
gotta
was going to say, what if I got a bun?
do it around, like do it around.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So that's you teeing us up to tap and breathe, right?
you're gonna tap and breathe, and so I'm gonna guide you to just take deep breaths as we're tapping. I know some people can't do both because it's almost like chewing gum and whatever, like two things at the same time, but you can do it. So first of all, I'm just gonna set you up. I'm gonna invite you to take a nice deep breath in and exhale, and just allow yourself to ground in this moment. Feel the chair supporting you. Feel your feet on the floor. Just allow yourself to be present in this moment. Just be here. And then notice what's going on. What's going on in your mind? What's your mind chattering to you about? What are you feeling in your body? What's the emotion that's present? And then notice if you're holding stress anywhere. Check your shoulders, check your jaw, anywhere where you're feeling tension. Just notice it. The invitation is just to notice. You don't have to change anything. Just notice and be with yourself. And so, tapping on the side of the hand, I'm going to invite you to take a nice deep breath in through the nose and hold it, and exhale through your mouth. One more time, deep breath in through the nose and hold it, and exhale through your mouth. Tap on the eyebrow, deep breath in through the nose and hold it, and exhale through your mouth. Side of the eye, deep breath in through the nose and hold it, and exhale through your mouth. Underneath the eye, deep breath in through the nose and hold it, and exhale through your mouth. Tap underneath the nose, deep breath in through the nose and hold it, and exhale through your mouth. Tap underneath the mouth, deep breath in through the nose and hold it, and exhale through your mouth. Then tap on the collarbone, deep breath in through the nose and hold it, and exhale through your mouth. And then tap underneath your arm, deep breath in through the nose and hold it, and exhale through your mouth. And then top of the head, just go around for you. Deep breath in through the nose and hold it, and exhale through your mouth. And then you can stop tapping, take one more deep breath in, and exhale. How does that feel?
I go take a nap now.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it doesn't take a lot. You're just tapping and breathing, and you're just calming your nervous system.
You know what? I'm going to challenge you all. I know I said I wasn't going to say anything else, but I want to challenge you um, to at least do this one time during the day. Your mind, body, and soul will thank you for it. And I am a believer, and I can honestly say and really guarantee to some extent that taking care of this internally helps you show up differently externally. Um,
Absolutely.
so you listen, I'm going to challenge you, commit to yourself that I'm going to take, I mean, we did that in what, 3 minutes?
Yeah,
I'm going to take 3 minutes. I'm going to carve out 5 minutes to slow my busy mind down, to slow down the incoming. We're in a world where there's so much information. You got to be on information overload with all the social media and all of the things. Everything is competing for our thoughts and our will. You got to do it if you want to be healthy in these various areas of your life, and you want to be able to realize the wealth in these areas. You want to do it.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Helen,
This was
do you want to
incredible.
just one, the favorite quote that you want to share with the people? Is there one or two tangible things, because we talked about a lot, that you want to leave
Mhm.
with them? If you don't want to do any of that, any parting words, just it's on you.
No, I'll just speak from my heart, right? We all have an intelligence, there's a wisdom inside of us. We have such an incredible potential of who we can become. Yet so many of us live way below our potential. And I'm going to invite you, in fact, I'm going to challenge you to step it up and live into your potential. Allow yourself to become all that you came here on this beautiful earth to become. Thank you so much for this awesome opportunity. It was such an honor. It was such a pleasure. And thank you for taking time to listen to us. Much love. I'm done.